Buildings are like people. Not only is the aging process inevitable, but it can be unkind. The good news is that buildings can be renovated.
It is our desire to refresh, renovate, and structurally strengthen the temple to serve and protect patrons and to preserve the temple for years to come.
The Salt Lake Temple has become an icon for the church around the world.
It's kind of the center of my religious life.
Every reasonable effort will be made to honor and maintain the temple's historic beauty. We promise that you will love the results.
Thanks for staying up with us for this special report.
Completed in 1893, after 40 years of construction, the Salt Lake Temple has stood as a centerpiece of Salt Lake City for over a century.
Its iconic facades and towering spires have become symbolic of the church as a whole all around the world. And now, as the church prepares to undertake an expansive restoration, we look at its history, the work to preserve its past and protect it for the future.
News specialist Sam Penrod takes us back to the very beginning.
Temples are precious to us.
It was just 4 days after the pioneers entered the Salt Lake Valley that then Church President Brigham Young determined the spot for the faith's new temple. Ground wouldn't be broken for another 5 years, and construction came with plenty of hurdles. The foundation had to be built and then rebuilt. And now crews will make that foundation seismically safe.
The decision was made is to protect and salvage everything we could that Brigham Young directed to put in. So these actually go below the footings.
The temple's interior, handcrafted by the first saints in Salt Lake, was finished just hours before its dedication. But through the decades, it has been altered.
Many things were painted over, and we would like to take it back to that more Victorian area that is a much more polychromatic scheme than we have today. So there will be some differences when you come back into the temple, but for the most part, it will be a restoration. So the murals will be restored, rejuvenated.
For 40 years, faithful members volunteered their time and talents to the temple.
Pioneer ancestors erected this iconic Salt Lake Temple. It now stands in stately majesty as a beacon of light to all the world.
Truly, the Salt Lake Temple was a labor of love. It still stands as a reminder of such to all Utahns today. And the hope is it will continue to stand for generations to come. Sam Penrod, KSL 5 News.
Sam, thanks. Well, 4 years is a long time to have this iconic temple closed.
Religion specialist Carol Makita shows us it's not the first time major renovations have been made at Temple Square.
Each time there was a need for a renovation, those doing the work took care to preserve the past. In the 1960s, workers undertook a major renovation of the Salt Lake Temple. These photographs from the Deseret News show extensive excavations were made around the base of the temple. On one photo, writers list the granite foundation as 14 feet deep, and 14 to 16 feet of lower sandstone subbase still remained. During the renovation, cement wells and footings were added, as well as underground passages.
Before the 1960s, when people attended the temple and when church leaders went there for their usual Thursday meetings, they did so overground. In fact, members of the church became so aware that they were doing that they'd line up on occasion for an opportunity to meet a church leader coming out of the temple and going back to the church administration building.
The 1962 renovation included a cleaning and creating new ceiling rooms, a 400-seat chapel, underground dressing rooms, and large waiting rooms. In 1991, scaffolding once again went up around the temple. Some of the stone needed to be replaced, and it was cleaned for its 100th anniversary in 1993.
So the temple exterior was cleaned. Also on that occasion, they put scaffolding up to the Angel Moroni, and they regilded the angel at that point. So that's the second period of restoration.
Starting in October of 2004, a major renovation on the Salt Lake Tabernacle began. There was a need to renovate, refurbish, and retrofit a beloved building. Announcing it, President Gordon B. Hinckley made a heartfelt plea.
I respect this building. I love this building. I honor this building. I don't want anything done here which will destroy the historical aspect of this rare gem of architecture.
And so they worked for 2.5 years, carefully, methodically preserving the labor of the pioneers, making it artistically finer and structurally safer. The singers were the first to tour their newly renovated home.
I love it. I love it.
There's just a spirit here that is nowhere else. And the acoustics are so fine.
The choir has a signature sound, and it really is tied with this building.
March 31st, 2007 was a unique moment for General Conference. On that day, for the first time in 7.5 years since the opening of the conference center, the Tabernacle was the meeting place so that President Hinckley could rededicate the building.
As we sit here, it brings back 1,000 memories.
It was another emotional, historic day on Salt Lake's Temple Square. Latter-day Saint church leaders and members rejoicing over the successful preservation of the pioneer past that now looks to the future. Carol Makita, KSL 5 News, Salt Lake City.
Carol, thank you. Coming up, what will the changes mean for the much-loved Temple Square Christmas lights? That's next. For millions, Christmas isn't Christmas without a trip to see the lights at Temple Square. And despite major construction coming, the lights will still be there.
The western half of Temple Square will remain open to the public through the construction, including the Tabernacle, Assembly Hall, and North Visitors Center.
And when construction's complete, the rest of Temple Square will look vastly different than it does now.
New entrances will be provided for a more inviting perspective and better access to temple grounds. Visitors will feel more welcomed and invited to enjoy historic Temple Square.
The eastern half of Temple Square, along with the plaza between the Temple and State Street, will also see changes, structural as well as landscaping. The South Visitor Center will be torn down and replaced with 2 new buildings. And similarly, on the north side of the temple, where the annex now sits, temple patrons will enter through new pavilions and an underground lobby topped with a glass skylight will give a breathtaking view of the temple from below.
And at the end of the 4-year renovation, the temple will be open to the public for open house tours before it is rededicated.
When this temple project is complete, it will be a wonderful and unique opportunity for you and your children and your parents or grandparents to come to the open house.
We will have people coming here from all over the United States, from all over the world, to see the Salt Lake Temple, to be able to walk through it and see what's been done and experience something that has not been available to people in over 125 years since the temple was first opened and dedicated. And so I would hope people have that in their sights as they look to the future.
Congratulations to Olivia Gunn. You're the final winner of a pair of tickets to see Game 3 tomorrow night between the Jazz and Rockets at Vivint Arena. So give us a call on the number there on the screen, 801-575-7236, in the next 15 minutes to claim your prize, and we'll see you at Game 3.
Yeah. Well, thanks for staying up with us. We'll be following the construction plans and the timing for the Salt Lake Temple as they're announced. Have a wonderful Easter and Passover weekend. Good luck to the Jazz, and the Tonight Show's next.